Ferrari built a rear wing so powerful it could add up to 10 km per hour on the straights, a design so extreme it flips almost completely in the air, something no team had ever dared to attempt, and just 64 days later, Red Bull showed up at Silverstone with their own version already on track. Not a concept. Not a simulation. A real car. Driven by Max Verstappen. And here's the part that stunned the entire paddock? Red Bull didn't just copy it. They may have fixed it. Because Ferrari's version had one critical weakness, instability at the worst possible moment, and Red Bull's design might have solved that without losing the speed advantage. If that's true, this isn't just copying. This is a takeover. And what happens next in Miami could decide who actually wins the season. Subscribe now, because the final piece of this story changes everything. At first, people thought Ferrari had just found a clever trick. Something small. Something temporary. But that idea didn't last long. Because the moment engineers started looking closer, they realized this wasn't a trick at all. It was a completely different way of thinking about speed. Most rear wings in Formula One work like a simple flap. They open slightly on the straights to reduce air resistance, then close again to give the car grip in corners. Simple. Predictable. Controlled. Ferrari threw that idea out. Instead of opening a little, their wing rotates almost completely. Imagine holding a book out the window of a moving car, then turning it flat so the air barely touches it. That's the kind of transformation we're talking about. And the effect is massive. Early estimates suggest a gain of up to 10 km per hour on long straights. That might not sound huge at first, but in Formula One, that's the difference between attacking and being untouchable. But here's the part most people missed. This wasn't just about going faster in a straight line. It was about what happens right after. Because the moment a driver lifts off the throttle, the wing has to come back. Instantly. Perfectly. At over 300 km per hour. And this is where things started to get complicated. Ferrari didn't just redesign the wing, they redesigned how it moves. Instead of using a traditional hydraulic system, they switched to an electrical one. That means more precision. More control. Less weight at the rear of the car. On paper, it's genius. But in reality, something felt off. Because when the wing rotates back into position, there's a split second where it stands almost vertical against the air. Think about that. At maximum speed, the car suddenly hits a wall of resistance, right before braking. And drivers can feel that. That tiny moment, that fraction of a second, can unsettle the entire car. Now imagine entering a high-speed corner with that instability. That's not just uncomfortable. That's risky. And this is exactly the kind of weakness rival teams look for. Not the big idea. The small flaw hidden inside it. Because in Formula One, you don't need to beat the whole concept. You just need to find the part that breaks under pressure. And someone was already watching. Closer than Ferrari expected. And while Ferrari was still trying to understand that weakness, someone else had already figured it out. Red Bull didn't react publicly. No statements. No hints. Nothing. But behind closed doors, they were dissecting every detail of that wing. Because this is what Red Bull does better than anyone. They don't chase ideas. They study them, break them, and rebuild them in their own way. So when their car appeared at Silverstone, it wasn't an experiment. It was a message. Because hidden in what looked like a routine filming day, there it was. A rear wing that moved differently. Not identical, but unmistakably inspired by Ferrari's concept. And here's where things take a sharp turn. Red Bull didn't go as far as Ferrari. They stopped short of the full rotation. Instead of flipping completely, their version rotates less. Somewhere between a traditional system and Ferrari's extreme design. At first glance, that might seem like a compromise. Like they couldn't match Ferrari. But that's not what's happening here. This is control. Think of it like pushing a door open. Ferrari kicks it wide open, fast, aggressive, maximum effect. Red Bull opens it just enough to get the benefit without losing balance. And that one decision changes everything. Because by limiting the movement, they reduce the risk. The wing returns faster. More predictably. Less chance of instability right before braking. Less chance of the car feeling nervous in high-speed transitions. And suddenly, the biggest weakness of Ferrari's design might not exist in Red Bull's version. But here's the part that makes this even more dangerous. Red Bull didn't build this system in isolation. They built it into a completely updated car. New side pods reshaping the airflow. A redesigned front wing guiding air more cleanly. Even small aerodynamic elements around the cockpit, fine-tuning how air moves across the car. Each piece alone might seem small. Together, they form something much bigger. Because aerodynamics in Formula One isn't about one part. It's about how everything connects. Like a chain. And if one link is stronger, the whole system improves. So now, this isn't Ferrari's idea anymore. It's a battle of interpretations. One extreme, one controlled, one chasing maximum performance, the other chasing the perfect balance. And right in the middle of that fight, there's a question no one can answer yet. Which one actually works when it matters most? Because testing is one thing, but racing is something completely different. And what happens next is where everything could flip again. And this is where the tension inside the paddock starts to explode. Because once Red Bull's version was spotted, reactions began to surface, even if no one wanted to say too much out loud. Ferrari knew. They understood immediately what had happened. Not just that their idea had been copied, but that it had been studied, simplified, and possibly improved. And that hits differently. Because creating something new puts you in control, but losing that exclusivity, that advantage, shifts the pressure right back onto you. Now it's no longer about innovation. It's about proving your version is still better. Inside Ferrari, there was already urgency. Drivers had felt the instability. Engineers had seen the data. That small delay when the wing returned to position, it wasn't just a detail anymore. It was the weak point everyone could target. And now Red Bull had built a version that might avoid exactly that. But here's where it gets even more intense. Not everyone in the paddock believes Red Bull copied Ferrari just to match them. Some believe they did it to beat them at their own game. Because Red Bull's philosophy has always been clear. Take the idea, remove the risk, keep the performance. And if you do that successfully, you don't just catch up. You overtake. Meanwhile, drivers are caught in the middle of this invisible war. Because for them, this isn't about concepts or theories. It's about feel, confidence, trust. Imagine entering a corner at extreme speed, knowing that a moving part behind you might not react the same way every time. That hesitation, even if it's tiny, changes how you drive. It changes braking points. It changes how early you commit to the corner. And in Formula One, hesitation is the difference between leading and losing. That's why this story isn't just technical. It's psychological. If Red Bull's system feels more stable, more predictable, that alone could give their drivers an edge, even if the raw speed is slightly lower. And that's something numbers don't always show. But here's the detail that makes this even bigger. Other teams are watching all of this unfold in real time. Not guessing. Not waiting. Watching. Because if this concept proves to work, even slightly, it won't stay between Ferrari and Red Bull. It spreads. Fast. Development in Formula One doesn't happen in isolation. It cascades. One idea becomes two, then three, then half the grid is chasing the same solution. And suddenly, what started as Ferrari's secret weapon becomes the new standard everyone is forced to follow. But that creates a new kind of pressure. Because if everyone adopts it, then the advantage disappears. So now Ferrari is in a race against time. Not just to make their system work, but to make it work better than anyone else, before everyone else catches up. And Red Bull? They're not waiting. They're already moving forward. Quietly, confidently, and heading straight into the one place where none of this can be hidden anymore. Miami. Where theories end, and reality decides everything. And just when it looked like Red Bull had closed the gap, Ferrari did something no one was ready for. They changed the story again. Because while everyone was focused on Silverstone, Ferrari was already testing something new, somewhere else, away from the spotlight. Monza. Another filming day. Another quiet session. But this time, the wing wasn't the same. At first glance, it looked familiar. Same concept. Same radical movement. But there was a subtle detail easy to miss, yet incredibly important. A counterweight. And that tiny addition might be the key to everything. Because remember the problem Ferrari had? That unstable moment, when the wing took just a bit too long to return. That hesitation before braking. That was the flaw Red Bull tried to eliminate. Now Ferrari is attacking that exact weakness, directly. Think of it like a door that swings open too slowly, and then struggles to close against the wind. Now imagine adding a weight that helps pull it shut, faster, smoother, with more control. That's what Ferrari has done. The counterweight acts like a balance system. When the wing rotates, it stores energy. And when it needs to return, that stored energy helps bring it back into position more quickly. The result? A faster closing motion. Less time in that dangerous vertical position. Less instability. And suddenly, the original flaw starts to disappear. But here's where things get even more intense. If Ferrari has fixed the weakness, and kept the full extreme rotation, then their version could still be the fastest. More speed on the straights. And now, stability in the corners. That combination is exactly what every team is chasing. But nothing is confirmed yet. Because testing is controlled, predictable, clean. Racing is chaos. dirty air, tire wear, pressure, mistakes. And this new version of the wing, the so-called evolution, hasn't faced that environment yet. So now we arrive at the moment where everything connects. Red Bull with a safer, more controlled interpretation. Ferrari with a more aggressive, now potentially fixed version. Both heading toward the same race. Both carrying answers and risks. And here's the part that changes the entire picture. If Ferrari's update works, Red Bull might suddenly be behind again. But if it doesn't, then Ferrari didn't just lose their advantage. They proved Red Bull was right to play it safe. And in Formula 1, being right at the right moment is what wins championships. So now, everything builds toward one question. Not who invented it, not who copied it, but who understood it better when it mattered most. Because in Miami, there's nowhere left to hide. And the truth about the Macarena wing is finally about to be exposed.